I'm sitting in my apartment, still wearing the gown from last night's engagement dinner, my face streaked with smudged eyeliner, trying to piece together the wreckage of what happened. I, a 28-year-old woman, walked away from my fiancé, a 30-year-old man, after 2 years together, leaving behind what was meant to be a joyous celebration. James and I met 3 years ago at a nonprofit gala. He's a financier from a wealthy, established family, navigating a world of privilege I never knew growing up. I'm a public school educator who clawed my way through college with scholarships and late-night shifts. Despite our contrasting lives, our connection was immediate. He was witty, thoughtful, and seemed to admire my drive and commitment to teaching. I fell deeply for him, and he appeared equally devoted. 2 weeks ago, he proposed during a quiet getaway by the sea. It was tender, magical, everything I'd ever imagined. I accepted instantly. The ring was stunning, a radiant sapphire that clearly cost a fortune. I was elated, eager to build our future. Last night, we gathered for our formal engagement dinner at La Belle Étoile, one of the city's priciest venues, with his family. I'd met his parents a few times before, always feeling uneasy around. His father, Richard, a rigid venture capitalist with a permanent scowl. His mother, Eleanor, was courteous but aloof, valuing status and legacy above all. I spent hours preparing, desperate to earn their approval. I wore a deep green dress I'd saved for months to afford, styled my hair in a sleek chignon, and borrowed my roommate's diamond studs. I wanted them to see me as worthy of their son. The evening began smoothly. Wine was poured, toasts were made. James held my hand beneath the table, offering gentle squeezes to calm my nerves. But during the entree, Richard cleared his throat and fixed his steely eyes on me. "So, Sarah," he said, twirling his glass, "now that you're set to join the family, we must address the prenuptial agreement." The room fell silent. James stiffened beside me. "Dad, we haven't even picked a venue," he said with an uneasy chuckle. "Let's not rush things." Richard's face tightened. "That's foolish. These things must be settled early. The Hamilton fortune needs safeguarding." My face flushed. "I respect the need to protect family wealth," I said cautiously. "I'm open to a fair prenup." Eleanor offered a tight smile. "How practical of you." "Quite a leap you've made, haven't you?" Richard pressed, his voice sharpening. "A teacher marrying into the Hamilton estate. Your mother must be overjoyed." "My mother died when I was 20. James knew this. His parents knew this. She would have wanted my happiness," I said softly, my appetite vanishing. Richard smirked. "No doubt. Nothing delights a mother more than her daughter securing a rich husband." I glanced at James, waiting for him to intervene, but he stared at his plate. "I didn't say yes to James for his wealth," I said, my voice trembling. "I love him." "Of course, dear," Eleanor said with syrupy insincerity. "The money's just a happy coincidence, isn't it?" Richard laughed, a cold bark that sliced through the restaurant's hum. "Let's not pretend ambitious young women from humble roots don't chase men like my son for their charm." I felt struck. "Excuse me?" "Dad?" James finally muttered, but his tone lacked strength. "What?" Richard snapped. "I'm just saying what everyone here knows. She's a fortune hunter, a blatant one." And then it happened. James laughed. A brief, awkward sound, perhaps nerves or an attempt to lighten the mood. But it wasn't a defense. He didn't stand up for me. He laughed. In that instant, my world went still. I looked at James, the man I thought I understood, and saw him clearly for the first time. His silence screamed betrayal. His laugh sealed it. Wordlessly, I slid the ring off my finger and set it beside his wine glass. The faint clink echoed like a gunshot. "Sarah," he began, realizing too late. I stood, grabbed my clutch, and walked out of the restaurant. Not fleeing, not sobbing. Just walking, chin up, one step at a time. I didn't turn back, even when he called after me. Now I'm here, questioning if I overreacted. Did I shatter my future over one awful night? But then I hear his laugh in my mind, and I know I couldn't have stayed. Was I wrong? Should I have pushed back? Am I proving Richard right by leaving? I don't know what's next. I just know I couldn't marry into a family that sees me as inferior, and I couldn't stay with someone who wouldn't fight for me. 2-3 days have passed since I left that restaurant, and my heart's been a battlefield of grief and rage. James showed up at my apartment the next morning. I was still in sweats, eyes puffy from tears, when his relentless knocking forced me to answer. Part of me wanted to shut him out, but I craved answers. He looked wrecked, unshaven, clothes rumpled, shadows under his eyes. He held the ring in one hand, lilies in the other, Typical James, thinking flowers could mend a broken foundation. "Please," he said, voice raw. "Let me talk." I let him in but kept my distance, arms folded like a shield. "I'm sorry about last night," he began. "My father was way out of line. He'd had too much wine and you know how he gets." "Do I?" I shot back. "Because in 3 years, you never told me your father thinks I'm a scheming leech." He flinched. "He doesn't really believe that." "Yes, James, he does. And what stings more than his words is that you sat there and let him say them." "You laughed." He raked his fingers through his hair. "It was just a nervous reflex. What was I supposed to do? Start a fight in the middle of La Belle Étoile?" "You were supposed to have my back," I said, my voice breaking. "You were supposed to tell your father I'm the woman you love, that I've never asked for a dime, that I've worked for everything I have. You were supposed to choose me." He set the ring on my side table. "I do choose you, Sarah. Always. I love you. My father's opinion doesn't matter." "But it does," I said. "It matters because you let him demean me. It matters because one day we might have kids, and I won't let them hear their grandfather call their mother a fortune hunter while their father stays quiet." He looked baffled. "Stays quiet? That's not what happened." "Then what was it, James?" He had no answer. "Has your father always seen me this way?" I asked. His pause was answer enough. "Why didn't you warn me?" "Because his views don't change how I feel," he said. "I love you for your heart, your dedication, your weird love for mystery novels. Why care what he thinks?" "I care," I said, "because his attitude shows what our life would be. Every holiday, every event, I'd be the opportunist who snared his son, and you'd be the man who lets it slide." "We can work through this," he pleaded. "I'll confront my father, make him apologize. We can delay the wedding until things settle." I looked at him and saw the truth. "This isn't just about your father, James. It's about you. It's about who you are when you're with him. I don't know that man, and I can't marry him." He left after an hour of futile arguments, taking the ring. I've spent the last 2 days sobbing, second-guessing, then recalling his laugh and feeling my resolve harden. My roommate, Mia, has been a rock, bringing me cookies and listening to my rants. James has called 19 times. His mother, unexpectedly, sent a message. Richard is set in his ways, but he'll soften. Don't ruin your future over stubbornness, as if self-respect were pride. Yesterday, my school director summoned me. Apparently, Richard had reached out to the district, raising concerns about my mental health and professionalism. Thankfully, my director, who's known me for 6 years, dismissed it as personal meddling. That Richard would try to sabotage. My career confirms I made the right call. What would he do if we were married and I crossed him? I haven't told James about his father's actions. I want to see if he'll learn of it and respond. So far, silence. Tonight, Mia and I are cracking. Open wine and burning my wedding planner. It's both liberating and gut-wrenching. I love James. I still do. But I'm realizing love alone isn't enough if your partner won't stand by you when it counts. The toughest part is fielding questions from friends and colleagues. Everyone's curious about the sudden split. I've kept it vague, saying we had different visions for the future. It's simpler than admitting the man I planned to marry sat mute while his father branded me a fortune hunter, then laughed like it was a quip. My cousin called from Oregon after I texted her the story. She wasn't shocked. "I always thought he bent too much to his parents," she said. "Remember last Thanksgiving when he canceled your trip because his mom guilted him?" She's right. There were signs. Moments when James prioritized his parents' wishes over ours. I dismissed them as filial duty. Now I see it was his inability to break free. I passed a bridal shop yesterday and saw a gown like one I'd saved, on my phone. For a second, I felt that pang of loss, not just for James, but for the life we'd envisioned, the home we'd dreamed of, the kids we'd named, the future that now lives in some parallel world where he had the strength to choose me. But then I recalled Richard's sneer as he called me a fortune hunter, that icy glare that reduced me to a stereotype. And I heard James's laugh, that faint, damning sound that spoke louder than words. I made the right choice. And one day, when the hurt fades, I hope James sees it too, my engagement, and the chaos is starting to settle. I'm back at school, finding comfort in my fourth grader's simple warmth and endless questions. There's something grounding about teaching a child to tackle a tricky math problem when your own life feels unsolvable. I haven't spoken to James in 10 days. After countless calls and texts, he sent an email that clarified everything. He wrote that he still loves me but thinks I'm overreacting to one tense dinner. He suggested we pause until I'm ready to be rational, as if demanding respect. We're irrational. The most telling part was the closing. "My family has high standards, Sarah. They've given up a lot to build my life. Sometimes you accept difficult moments for the bigger picture. The bigger picture was clear. His inheritance, his role in his father's firm, his status. I was the one expected to sacrifice my pride, my worth, to keep the peace. I didn't reply. What more was there to say? I didn't expect Eleanor's call 3 days ago. She asked to meet for tea, just us. Curiosity won over caution, and I agreed. We met at a quiet cafe far from her usual elite spots. She looked less pristine, more approachable. She ordered a chai and sat across from me, hands clasped. "I owe you an apology, Sarah," she said bluntly. "That dinner was unforgivable." I was stunned. This wasn't the Eleanor I knew. "Richard clings to outdated ideas," she went on, "and James has always chased his approval, even when it costs him." "I noticed," I said wryly. She gave a faint smile. "I should have spoken up that night. I've been softening Richard's edges for decades, justifying his actions. I was wrong to stay silent." I searched her face for motive. "Why tell me this now?" She exhaled, a sound heavy with years of compromise. "Because I see myself in you. 35 years ago, I was you. Small-town roots, in love with a Hamilton man, trying to prove my worth. But I stayed. I bent. I told myself it was worth it." She hesitated. "I'm not sure it was." My throat tightened. "Are you unhappy?" "Not quite," she said. "I've had a comfortable life, wonderful children. But I lost parts of myself, my independence, my confidence. When you walked out, I was jealous. We talked for nearly 2 hours. She shared stories of her early years with Richard, how his family judged her, how she molded herself to fit their mold, how she watched James mirror his father despite her efforts. "He loves you," she said as we stood to leave. "More than anyone. But love isn't always enough, is it?" I shook my head, eyes stinging. "No, it isn't." She squeezed my hand. "Whatever you do, Sarah, don't let anyone dim who you are." I've been replaying our talk ever since. Was she cautioning me? Supporting me? Saying farewell? Maybe all three. This morning, flowers arrived. Not from James, but Richard. The note read, "My conduct was inappropriate. R.H." No real apology, just an admission. Classic. I haven't told James about his parents' gestures. I don't know if they've mentioned them to him. Part of me wonders if this is a test. Will he make amends on his own, or because his family nudged him? Mia thinks I should block him and move on. My cousin says I escaped a trap. But it's not that clean. I didn't just lose a partner. I lost the future we'd mapped out, the home we'd sketched, the family we'd imagined. Dreams don't fade easily. Every morning my left hand feels bare, searching for a ring that's gone. Its absence is both a wound and a freedom. Update, 1 month a month since that dinner, and life has thrown surprises my way. Last weekend, I was boxing up my apartment. I decided to downsize since I couldn't afford this place without James's help, when he appeared at my door. Seeing him amid my half-packed life twisted my heart. "You're moving?" he asked, voice cracking. "I can't afford this on a teacher's pay," I said plainly. He scanned the chaos of my unraveling plans. "I'll cover my part. You don't have to leave." "Yes, I do." I set down a stack of plates. "Why are you here, James?" He'd quit his job at his father's company and taken a role at a boutique investment firm across town. He handed me a letter, his father's stunned, furious reply to his resignation. "I should have done this long ago," he said softly. "Been my own person, not his shadow." I invited him in, brewed coffee, and we talked, truly talked, for the first time in years. He admitted he'd spent his life chasing his father's approval, even when it meant betraying his principles. He owned how much he'd hurt me, not just at the dinner, but in countless small moments I'd overlooked. "I don't expect forgiveness," he said. "I just needed you to know you were right." I didn't know how to respond. Part of me wanted to embrace him, say we could try. Again. Another part recalled his face when his father called me a fortune hunter, that fleeting look of doubt before the laugh. "I need time," I said. "I'm glad you're standing up for yourself, but this isn't just about your father." He nodded. "Take all the time you want. I'll wait." After he left, I sat among my boxes, feeling a strange peace. The future didn't feel so daunting anymore. 2 days later, Eleanor invited me to lunch. She said Richard was reeling from James's choice. She seemed brighter, almost youthful. "Richard can't fathom why James would throw it all away for—" She paused. "For a woman." "For himself," I corrected. "He did it for himself." She smiled. "Yes, you're right. Before we parted, she handed me a small silk pouch. Inside was an antique emerald ring. "This was my mother's," she said. "Richard thought it too plain for a Hamilton wife, but it's the only heirloom from my family." She closed my hand around it. "Whether you and James reconcile or not, keep this. A reminder to hold on to your fire." I tried to refuse, but she wouldn't hear it. "It's not a promise," she said. "It's a bond between women who understand." I didn't move to the tiny apartment I'd planned. My colleague Lisa needed a housemate in her place across town, closer to my school, with a yard where I can plant the flowers I've always wanted. Choosing what I want, not what fits someone else's life feels right. James and I talk carefully now. No grand promises, no rush. Just weekly coffee, conversations that unravel years of unspoken truths. He's different outside his family's influence. Wittier, lighter, more himself. Last week he asked if we could start over. I said I wasn't ready, that I need to know myself alone before I can know us together. "I get it," he said, and I think he meant it. I'm wearing Eleanor's emerald ring on my right hand, not as a vow to anyone else, but to myself, to never quiet my voice, to never trade my value, to never accept being diminished. I don't know if James and I will reconnect. I don't know if his changes will endure. I don't know if I can trust him again. But I know walking out of that restaurant was the hardest, truest thing I've ever done. The toughest steps often lead you home to yourself. Update? 6 months. 6 months since that dinner, and it feels both recent and distant. I'm on the porch of my new home, a cozy bungalow with green shutters and an oak tree out front. I use my wedding savings for the down payment. Each mortgage payment feels like a declaration. This is mine, built by me, for me. James and I tried. For 3 months, we rebuilt from scratch. Raw talks, therapy, clear boundaries. He stayed at his new job despite his father's growing pressure to return. He joined a group for people navigating domineering parents. He was doing everything right, but something had broken. Every time he took me out, I braced for men who looked like Richard. Every time he introduced me to someone, I scanned for signs of scorn. The trust we'd lost wasn't healing, no matter how hard we tried. 2 months ago, over dinner at my place, I found the words. "I don't think we can mend this," I said softly. He set down his glass, sad but unsurprised. "Because of my father?" "No," I said honestly. "Because of us. Because I know what I need now, and you know what you need to be. And we can't give that to each other together." He nodded. "I was afraid you'd say that. I felt it too." We cried that night, grieving not just our loss, but the lessons we'd learned too late. He kissed me at the door, refused the emerald ring when I offered it back, and left with quiet dignity. Richard sent a stiff note. "James told me of your final parting. I wish you success in your future." From him, it was almost kind. Eleanor. And I still meet for tea sometimes. She's taken up sketching again, a passion she abandoned when she became a Hamilton. Last month, she showed me a drawing of 2 women by a lake. "That's us," she said, "in another world." I've been promoted to head teacher, with a small but welcome raise. I'm dating again, slowly, deliberately. Nothing deep yet, but I'm open. More importantly, I'm whole alone in a way I never was. My friends tease that I should write a memoir. How leaving a posh dinner reshaped my life. Maybe I will. For now, I'm happy on my porch, watching my oak's leaves turn gold, feeling the emerald ring on my right hand, a symbol of the woman who stayed and the one who walked away. Last week, I saw James at a cafe downtown. He was with a woman I didn't know, chuckling at something on her phone. He caught my eye, his smile flickering before steadying. We traded small talk, quick updates. As I left, he touched my arm. "Thank you," he said. "For what?" "For having the strength I lacked. For showing me what it means to value yourself." I smiled, a real smile free of the old ache. "Take care, James." "I am," he said. "For the first time, I really am." Walking away, I felt the last piece of a complex puzzle click into place. Sometimes loving someone means letting them go. Sometimes the happy ending isn't the dream you pictured, but the life you craft, step by step, choice by choice. I slipped the emerald ring into my pocket. I didn't need it anymore. I had become my own reminder of resilience, of worth, of the courage to leave when staying costs too much. Was it worth it? The heartbreak, the loss, the rebuilding? As I opened the door to my green shuttered home, Mine alone, I know the answer with unshakable certainty. Yes. 1,000 times, yes.